Many of our homes, especially in New England, we build our homes in a wooded site. We clear out around the home and we plant our landscape around the home, but we don't necessarily actually go into the woods to see what potentials that we can create or what atmospheres that we can create by selective pruning and removal of trees. On this site, because it's sited on the water, what the owners had envisioned was an opportunity to enjoy the water. Because we have certain restrictions on how many trees that we can remove from the water, what we've done is we've actually, according to the rules, had an equal distribution of large standing trees, left those trees and pruned the lower branches on the remaining trees. What this has done is created a habitat by which you're still able to provide shade, absorption through the existing trees, and continued to enjoy the asset of the home on the water for those customers to enjoy. When we're looking at the edges of the property, we also can see that there is a certain amount of depth that's been created by pruning and removing smaller trees. A lot of our homes, if we recognize where we live, we're basically in a box with walls of green next to us. But by creating depth, you give your sense, you have a much more pleasing, much more feeling of a park-like atmosphere. And that way leads into the woods and not abruptly stopping when you get to the edge of your lawn. So by maintaining this type of an atmosphere, you obviously are you're adding equity to your home, maintaining some sort of a balance between your needs and the needs for nature and conservation. Buying a home is a very important part of our lives, our lifestyle. The atmosphere that we create around our homes is important to how we feel every day. Landscapes are set up to reflect our personalities. Trees are growing in our homes, in landscapes in our homes, in strategic spots to reflect the design of landscapes. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the forms of landscapes, particularly utilizing the already existing trees that you have instead of relying on a design or a planted landscape. The mature trees that we already have in our properties, the wood stands, understanding what we have to work with, we can provide you with some information that would be useful in planning purposes. We all start out, those of us that are fortunate enough nowadays to be able to build a home on a plot of woods or in a wooded area, for instance, as we have here, and they be able to form and create an atmosphere by removing the trees and strategically picking out those trees that we might want to save. We've created an atmosphere in this location 20 years ago. Even though it might look very mature and look like that was planted, this is carved out from the existing trees that were in this wooded lot just 20 years ago. What we were able to do was identify certain groups of trees, and by the placement of those trees, be able to accentuate the architecture that associates with the homes, with the barn, with the driveway, to give you a sense that it was a planted landscape. You can see around the home that we've actually taken many of the trees down away from the home. It ensures that the home is getting the proper sunlight, air circulation, that we're not having any problems with moisture problems, insects, squirrels. and the other trees are strategically left to accentuate the architecture. Going down the driveway, in between the turnaround, the driveway, you can see that the barn is framed. You can see that the home is framed, and it allows plenty of sunlight to penetrate, to allow the turf to grow, but at the same time the turf is green during drought conditions as a result of the shade. So it has there's a certain balance that we tried to achieve and still give it an appearance that the site was wooded, but yet around the home itself is completely clear for good maintenance on the home. It might look like this was a planted row of trees. However, this is, or was, completely wooded on both sides of the row of trees, because we left certain trees and spaced them properly, and then we eliminated the competition and then allowed these trees to grow. We created the row of trees from already existing trees. This, again, this whole row was created 20 years ago with the existing trees that grew here. Through proper spacing, removals of the other undergrowth, allowing certain understory to exist, pruning lower limbs to create this environment, we were able to achieve this in a relatively short period of time.